Okay, let's jump right into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're tackling what is, let's be real, a multi-million-dollar decision for enterprise security leaders right now. We're talking about how to choose the absolute best managed detection and response, or MDR model for your specific organization. To do that, we're going to put two absolute heavyweights side by side, Arctic Wolf and CrowdStrike Falcon Complete.
So think about this for a second. Is your security team just completely drowning in telemetry, or are they actually out there stopping breaches? Because in today's incredibly high-stakes threat landscape, the friction between the security tools you own and your team's actual ability to respond, well, that can literally mean the difference between staying safe and dealing with a catastrophic breach. It's really not just about collecting data anymore. It's entirely about what you can do with that data under extreme pressure.
And man, that pressure is absolutely mounting. Just look at the projections. We are staring down an 89% increase in AI-enabled attacks year over year going into 2025. 89%! Adversaries are moving faster than we've ever seen, which dramatically accelerates both the scale and the speed of cyber threats. So, picking an MDR provider, it's no longer just a question of who has the best detection capabilities. It is entirely about the speed of operational execution at scale.
To figure this out, we're breaking this explainer down into 6 crucial battlegrounds. We've got 1, the ecosystem battle, 2, architecture, open versus closed, 3, telemetry, agnostic versus native, 4, operations, concierge versus automation, 5, scaling response and TCO, and finally, 6, choosing your champion.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the ecosystem battle.
On one side of the ring, we have Arctic Wolf. Their Aurora superintelligence platform leverages an open data pipeline, which they combine with an agentic SOC. Their whole philosophy here is completely vendor agnostic. They connect to your existing endpoint, network, identity, and cloud signals. Basically, they aren't asking you to throw away the investments you've already made. Instead, they sit on top of your current stack, ingest all that totally disparate data, normalize it, and then apply human expert investigation to make sense of it all.
Now, over in the other corner, CrowdStrike Falcon Complete takes a totally different approach. They rely on a unified single-agent ecosystem. With a unified MITRE ATTC coverage map built directly into their next-gen SIEM, they are intensely focused on native platform integration. They really want you operating entirely within their proprietary ecosystem. Why? Because it allows them to streamline detection and consolidate data natively, rather than relying on bringing in logs from a bunch of third-party tools.
Which brings us nicely to our second point. Architecture, open versus closed.
The contrast between these two is stark. With Arctic Wolf's open pipeline, absolutely zero rip and replace is required. If you have complex legacy multi-cloud ingestion needs or you really need visibility across a massive stack of third-party tools, Arctic Wolf just adapts to your existing security debt. But on the flip side, CrowdStrike leverages the massive performance benefits of a native closed ecosystem. Because they essentially own the data layer from the endpoint all the way up to the cloud, their single-agent integration means they can correlate data incredibly fast, completely bypassing the latency that sometimes pops up when you're translating third-party logs.
Moving right along to Section 3, telemetry, agnostic versus native.
So, CrowdStrike's native strategy is basically obsessed with one thing: speed. By backing their detections with Charlotte AI and keeping all that forensic data locked inside their proprietary ecosystem, they inherently crush false positive rates. They're running real-time and scheduled detections backed by this massive library of pre-built content. They know exactly what their agent is looking at, which makes their alerts incredibly high fidelity. No noise, just signal.
But the real trick for any security leader is finding the balance, right? You have to bridge the gap between getting broad visibility across your third-party tools and getting those deep-dive forensics that are only really possible within a proprietary ecosystem. This is where Arctic Wolf's agnostic model shines. It gives you that incredibly broad visibility across a multitude of disparate tools. So if your enterprise is highly complex, heavily segmented, or maybe you're reliant on very specific legacy tech that you just cannot move away from, Arctic Wolf's telemetry model is designed to cast that wide net and actually make sense of all those different languages.
All right, part 4, operations, concierge versus automation.
This is the classic debate of our modern era: humans versus automation. Arctic Wolf provides a highly human-centric model. They actually give you a dedicated concierge security team to oversee your response. It's a very high-touch, expert-led investigation process where you have named individuals, people who actually know the ins and outs of your specific environment, helping you navigate a breach. CrowdStrike, though, relies heavily on a software-first model. They lean on automated workflows and AI-assisted triage to do the heavy lifting, acting almost instantaneously. But it's not entirely machines. They support this lightning-fast response behind the scenes with a team of elite threat hunters.
When you look at CrowdStrike's unified alert triage and risk scoring dashboard, it is incredibly streamlined, seriously slick. But it does force you to ask a pretty hard question about your internal staff. Are you people mature enough to manage and act on a fast-paced, automated dashboard like this? Or would they honestly benefit a lot more from Arctic Wolf's dedicated external human guidance to prevent operational burnout?
Next up, Section 5, Scaling Response and TCO.
When we break down the total cost of ownership, you're fundamentally choosing between two very different financial strategies here. CFOs often absolutely love Arctic Wolf for its predictable fixed pricing. It just makes long-term budgeting so much easier. On the other hand, CrowdStrike offers a modular, consumption-based licensing model. That means it grows directly alongside your usage and your data ingestion. And as for scaling itself, Arctic Wolf scales broadly across varied legacy environments, while CrowdStrike scales deeply by expanding within its own proprietary ecosystem.
But remember, scaling also requires a delicate balance between native automated remediation and response friction. With native integration, like you get with CrowdStrike, you get instant automated remediation right there at the endpoint. Boom, done. But if you use an external, vendor-agnostic provider like Arctic Wolf, there might be more coordinated, deliberate steps required to isolate your critical infrastructure, simply because they are operating outside of your native tools. It's a trade-off.
Finally, Section 6, Choosing your MDR champion.
The reality here is that there's no single universal winner. There is only the right fit for your specific organization. To make this call, you really need a structured framework. Step 1. Honestly evaluate your existing security debt. Can you afford to rip and replace, or do you desperately need a tool that plays nice with what you already have? Step 2. Assess your internal team. Are they highly mature and ready to fly with automated dashboards, or are they redlining on burnout and in need of a concierge hand to hold? And Step 3, align the pricing model, whether that's predictable fixed costs or consumption-based scaling, with your long-term financial strategy.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. Based on your organization's specific risk profile and your current security debt, which philosophy truly scales for your future? Is it the broad, human-guided, open pipeline of Arctic Wolf? Or is it the lightning-fast, highly automated, closed ecosystem of CrowdStrike? Answering that question honestly is really the only way to avoid a multi-million-dollar mistake. Thanks for joining this explainer. Take this framework, assess your environment, and as always, keep questioning the data.